On a primeval river in the heart of Africa lives the legend of a creature called Mokele Mbambe. Like the Loch Ness Monster, it's awesome and mysterious. But this is no sea serpent. This brute is no illusion. It's a dinosaur. Explorers have ventured into Africa, the dark continent, in search of this elusive beast. Africa, over 200 million years ago. In a vast sun-baked desert, a tiny oasis gives shelter to a host of prehistoric creatures. Here, insects rule the world. Through the eyes of a dragonfly, this world is gigantic. The only other permanent residents, primitive amphibians and frogs, congregate in a pool, the only water for hundreds of miles. Most of the time it's a sanctuary, but once in a while, terror strikes. Today, this long-forgotten refuge has disappeared, eaten away by the ravages of time. Sprawled over 345,000 square miles, this vast wasteland is now known as the Karoo Basin in South Africa. Here in 1854, paleontologists uncovered the first dinosaur ever found south of the equator. It was also one of the earliest dinosaurs to walk the land. Called Massospondylus, scientists disagree exactly when it lived, with estimates ranging from 220 to 200 million years ago on the Triassic-Jurassic boundary. 13 feet long, this plant eater stood on its hind legs to graze in trees using its tail for support. Although first discovered in the Karoo Basin, Massospondylus was not unique to Africa. When it lived, the world was a very different place.
If you were a dinosaur in the early days in the Triassic in Africa, you could walk to South America, you could walk to New Mexico, you could walk to Scotland, you could walk across Russia and down to India. It was all one place.
At the beginning of the Triassic 245 million years ago, the Earth was one half water and the other half land. All of the continents were joined together in a single landmass called Pangaea. Africa lay in the middle, just below the equator. Because most of the continent was landlocked, the climate was very hot and very dry. South Africa was a desert. The torrid wind blew constantly across an endless sea of sand, erasing any hint of life. Here, a dinosaur would leave no footprints, and the desert offered little shelter. But then, as now, small pockets of vegetation sprouted around the occasional watering hole. Primeval paradise in a bleak and inhospitable world would help forge the destiny of Massospondylus. nomadic dinosaur, Massospondylus was built for long, arduous travel across great expanses of desert. Like a camel, it stored food and water in its body until it reached the next oasis. Well suited to its environment, Massospondylus was lean and compact, but it had a telltale feature. Its head was tiny. Roger Smith of the Cape Town Museum thinks this dinosaur was the blueprint for the largest land animals that ever lived.
Well, this is a skull of Massospondylus. It's a small, dainty dinosaur with large eye sockets. And here the row of small teeth, leaf-eating teeth. As evolution progressed, some of them became smaller, but others gave rise to the large, plant-eating herbivorous sauropods.
205 million years ago, the Earth cracked and molten lava poured out of its interior, signaling the coming of a new age, the Jurassic period. Unable to adapt to the changing times, Massospondylus was rapidly disappearing. Another dinosaur was taking its place on the African plains, but in size, this plant eater was a monster. In 1907, a German mining engineer prospecting for minerals in East Africa stumbled upon the unexpected. Littering a site called Tendaguru in what is now Tanzania was the greatest collection of dinosaur bones to ever come out of Africa. The discovery launched the largest expedition of any kind in history. The dig ranged over 2 square miles and took over 5 years to complete. The Germans employed 170 native laborers in the first season. By the 5th year, the number had risen to 500. Accompanied by their families, the workers at Tendaguru became a city unto themselves, reaching a staggering 900 people in all. By the time the expedition had ended, 250 tons of fossils had been unearthed. In an unending stream, natives bearing 5,000 crates of bones snaked their way through the bush on an arduous 4-day trek to the coast. From there, the bones were shipped to the Humboldt Museum in Berlin, Germany. Over a decade later, the bones would reveal a total of 9 new species of dinosaur. Their skeletons created a sensation when they were first exhibited in 1920. But one in particular left the scientific world in awe, and today it is still a subject of fascination for paleontologist Oliver Rauhoot.
This dinosaur was first found as the largest land animal the world had ever seen. Still today, this is the largest complete dinosaur skeleton ever found.
One of the largest, longest, and possibly heaviest dinosaurs ever to walk the land, this huge plant-eating sauropod is named arm lizard, Brachiosaurus. Reinforced by limb girders and supported by pillar-like legs, Brachiosaurus resembled a gigantic giraffe. It roamed Africa 150 million years ago at the end of the Jurassic period. The world it lived in was no longer a desert. The climate had changed. For the first time, sand dunes sprouted plants, nurtured by the coming and going of seasons. In spring, when it rained, Brachiosaurus fed on the leaves that grew in the burgeoning forests of conifers and hardwoods. But in the summer, when it was dry, food was not so plentiful. So how did Brachiosaurus not only survive, but flourish?
They flourished because these huge, long-necked animals could reach up high into the canopy and feed on the last leaves left in the summer, or if they had to, push over the trees with their great weight and rip up the trunks, as elephants do today. Being huge, being tall, being very strong is an adaptive necessity if the summers are bad.
Brachiosaurus dominated the Jurassic plains. But Africa wasn't their only playground. In 1877, bones of another Brachiosaurus were dug up 11,000 miles west of Tendaguru in the Badlands of Colorado. 150 million years ago, Brachiosaurus was king of the world. But something was about to happen that would make its empire crumble. The great supercontinent of Pangaea began to break up. As the land masses across the globe pulled in separate directions, rifts appeared in the Indian and Atlantic Oceans. These changes ushered in the Cretaceous period 142 million years ago.
During the Cretaceous, Africa split off from all the other continents, split off from Europe, split off from North America, split off at the top from South America. It became a dinosaur island with its own unique adaptive inventions.
Now isolated, Africa would become home to a breed of dinosaurs that would rival the weirdest and meanest the world has ever seen. Five times a day, a chant echoes through an ancient village, calling Muslims to prayer. Sandwiched between Algeria and Libya on the north coast of Africa lies the Arab country of Tunisia. These long-abandoned dwellings cling precariously to the steep mountainside. Little did their creators know that this ancient land was once ruled by dinosaurs with a flair for the bizarre. And one creature in particular.
African dinosaurs in the Cretaceous produced unusual things: a sea-going, fish-killing, meat-eating dinosaur, a combination of Free Willy and T-Rex.
In 1998, a team of dinosaur hunters from England's Bristol University came here to find this elusive beast. They traveled 5 long days and nights and covered 4,000 miles to reach this remote outpost. To the town of Tatooine, which lies on the edge of the Sahara Desert. Before their journey is over, they will travel further into the unknown and back in time. In 1912, German paleontologist Ernst Stromer led a team into Egypt's western desert. At a place called the Bahariya Oasis, he unearthed the skeleton of what looked like a monster. He named it Spinosaurus, meaning thorn lizard, after the sail that was over 5 feet tall and stuck up from its back. A 2-legged predator, it was 49 feet long and weighed 4 tons. But little else is known of this giant from North Africa. In 1944, a World War II bombing raid on Germany destroyed the few known bones of Spinosaurus.